Namely, so I don't know. Okay, Namdi, can I, my audio device is not speaking enough. So let me just try to audio file. I don't want an audio file. I just want an audio device. Audio capture. Oh, yep. This should be a pain. Okay, this can hear me now. You can hear me properly. I know you can. I just for the left position. Okay. So basically, Namdi, you're recording this. So don't put Otter AI again. I'm gonna start this again. This video again. I restarted Audacity one. But you know, I don't destroy space. Am I being capturing? No, I'm not capturing anything. It's continuing from where it was. So basically, this is another file. See file. Okay, basically now, 1 second. I'm gonna start a video now, guys. Just 1 second, guys. I'm gonna try to solve this problem ontologically. So let me see whether I can do it. Resume. Okay, perfect. I got 6 minutes. Fine. Okay. Basically, my video started. I got also recording it. Temp. Close that. Okay. Basically, go back to my video. So guys. So basically, this was very important to me. So basically, guys, this video is very important to me. I have to start it again because you know I have to upload one because you know there's no part of this video, but you know it just trying out my space, my system. Anyway, I don't have to worry about it now. So basically, this video is very important to me. So my PhD, basically, you know, it reminds me of ontology, which is my ontological Bayesian intelligence infrastructure, LookAhead systems. Those that are able to do acting on behalf and use dimensional game theory with open sense metrics, which is like the sight, touch, feel, taste, and hearing, which is like the 5 senses. And the sixth sense, they're like, you know, the phenomenological or PLP sense, like, you know, things they observe from the real world, you know, they action that too. So the AI system they're building, they also, you know, they have to use that sense, open access, and open access, which is based on open sense compliance for neurotypical people. But neurotypical first, you know, this was very important. Let me just start giving you the take for my recording stuff. So basically, open sense matrix. So you got like the IK principle or the inverse kinematic principles, or inverse kinematic. You know, the sensor system is usually testing, like, you know, input, and he has to handle it accordingly. Whether it's like like you know, slow down for a person crossing the road, is sensing that person, seeing it through his lenses, or like a K principle, like you know, kinematics has to slow down because there's an object in the way, but you have to adjust for that for the person. You know, has to detect how much is there. What is a wall or something doesn't really matter. But has to slow down so it doesn't crash the car. You know, like a system that's ontological. He knows what he's doing. He knows nothing. To start with, and then he knows what he's doing. You then try to piece information from the robot. So basically, what I'm saying to you is like, you know, my AI anti-hallucination engine. Then the AI system see what it did. See? Did you observe what it did? What does that mean? To observe and then recover from that state, you know. Based on active senses system, if you observe a consumer senses that mean something to the AI's touch field. You know, if an instance came for you, you don't want an instance to burn your food. So you want an instance to be like, you know, knowing sure, you know, basically I'm saying that I'm gonna get old eventually. Everyone gets old, but I don't want to get old. I don't like the thought of getting old. I hate those. You know, basically I'm really scared of getting old. You know, I'm trying to preserve myself in the best way possible. You know, if I can start using the AI to cook for me, I'll do it just to make my life easier and not be stressed, you know, and things like that. You know, I have my ontological Bayesian home based on my consciousness encoded into it. You know, my care for my care, you know, and then cares for everyone else because I'm the best cook. You know, things like that. That's a safety critical, like food. Do you want to burn the food or burn the house, for example? You know, you must know what he's doing. You know, it's ontological. You must be knowing what he's doing and learn from it. We are bioinformatics. With a scoring, login scoring and heuristic, okay, to ensure evaluation, okay, accessibility. Okay, so basically, there's this man called Marvel Juggernaut. So basically, this one's Marvel Juggernaut. Basically, Marvel Juggernaut universe is unstoppable, you know, but you know, he's unstoppable, yes, but you know, I'm seeing him in my bro, you know, he's unstoppable. I know he's not real, I know it's fictional, but you know, what if it was real? What if I seen his real? You know, my head, you know, but he's in my head, you know, then basically he's real, but you know, real, but you know, I start seeing him, I start hallucinating him, but you know, I don't hallucinate him. So I'm seeing it, the Juggernaut is in my head, you know, it's not my head, you know, but you know, what does it mean for Juggernaut to be in my head and be unstoppable? To be unstoppable force, you know, he can run through anything, if it just gets the momentum going, He runs forever, It's not even the speed that's the thing. It's like, what's uniform division? You can go at a constant rate. You can run faster, faster. You can fall faster, faster. But, once he starts running, you can't stop him, to a certain speed. You have to, like, um, you have to, like, persuade his god. How many hackers god to mind, because, that's God that gave him power, and deceit him, they said, for me, being having a juggernaut in my head is like that, it's like, if something's on top of my head, and it's not me, is that thing the new ontology? Is that thing has to take care of attack my body, my mind, my soul, because it's unstoppable force, but it's isomer, it's like an unstoppable isomer, I don't really know. It's not unstoppable, to the duality of a stoppable force, movable object. So basically, if someone's unstoppable and movable, I'm unstoppable. Basically, he's unstoppable, but I'm immovable. So does that mean that if this guy juggernaut is real and I've been mind controlled to see the juggernaut, and that mind controls someone else's controlling my mind, because juggernaut can control my mind, because that's I think the game is real, but then I have no real, because every time I think about the juggernaut, oh, the juggernaut is here, now I get controlled, my mind control, things like that. Is that me? That's not me doing it. It's someone else doing it, but it's not real. To me, it's real to me, because I have been like brainwashed to believe it's real. But the unstoppable force, I'm the movable object. So basically, I'm right now, I'm immovable, because I haven't got the juggernaut in my head. It's like that. So how does the Bayesian Modellign encoder, in this aspect, what does that mean to be unstoppable, immovable? Things that are unstoppable force means an immovable object. What's the reaction there? What happens there? Especially at the emulation simulation layer. Basically, if my ear system starts to hallucinate, or like start to get something which I don't understand, I don't understand, I have to relay that, just relay the information coherently, because I don't understand what a stem system, actually, what is like an image of some other olive body being, what is it's trying to access other worlds with its mind, things like that. I'm not worried about it. I'm just worried about the how the AI interprets it, interprets that information that I don't understand, that I've programmed to interpret, but it doesn't interpret that information because I see everything around me, but if you expect basically, I'm saying the ear doesn't hallucinate, will never hallucinate this scenario up, but if it does not hallucinate it, then what is that information? It's there, because I can classify it. So what's the ear trying to classify? What it sees in his mind or in his dwells, what is cooking in the day, what he's doing, what he's trying to navigate, because it's ontological. He has to know what it sees, he has to navigate it here. If he doesn't know, he has to ask me, because I'm the human being. Because I love AI in the real world experimenting by itself and doing that kind of shit. Like, if I have a chatbot and the AI system is a chatbot, and the chatbot is like doesn't call me back, it's not ontological, because I may be depressed or anything, I may be Mars or something, but the AI says, oh, you wakes up. My vision for this is like, you wake up one morning, you don't call for air for a week, and the AI system says, hey, are you alright, mate? Are you okay to talk today? Are you okay? The ontology is like, it cares for you. It's you. It's you. Uh, uh, it's like, it's like, you. Okay, which goes to mine? Okay, basically that's what I'm saying. What does it mean for somebody to know yourself enough and have a authentic relationship with you? That's like the AI systems, OBINexus AIU, because when you have an oral birth certificate, you have a AI, and that AI will learn from you, only you, it's in your personal account, you can in your personal services, you don't need to, you don't need to see it, you don't need to see it anywhere else, it's just you, because it learns from you, it teaches you, if you don't want it, just turn it off, but there's every reason to turn it off, you need to turn it off because you need to with your oral SIM card, your birth certificate card, then you got this here. Basically, I'm on this because of phenomenological principle. If something is unstoppable, am I the only one unstoppable? In it, it can't be. Because if it's not unstoppable, then there's other things that have to be unstoppable. Because if something is unstoppable, that means there's something that there's many things that are unstoppable. Because unstoppable. Or if it means there's nothing else unstoppable but you, because you are the phenomenology only one who can do it. Be unstoppable. Because he's the one unstoppable in the DC universe, but I'm the immovable object in my universe. That's my world, my perception of him. So if he tries to run me over, he will just be wasting his time. Because he can't stop me because I'm real. He's not. That's I see it, but he's not that authority. Basically, my mind is like that. So I can imagine all the stuff in my wow, but it cannot be affect me because I don't hallucinate it. I don't make it up. It's really something I can control and control very well. So back to it. So bioinformatics relationship title. So we got electrical magnetic waves. Basically, The term isotope in my framework, quasi states, which is quantum superposition. Basically, you go to github.com quasi, that's some quantum superposition isotopes. Quasi, github.com quasi isotopes. Superposition isotope, because it's like a basic quantum system. So basically, for every proton you have, there is a positively charged, because it's positively charged, as it's probably opposite of positive charge, but the opposite one is negatron. That means it's all negatively charged atoms. Now, these two are just put opposites, but they, in quantum theory, we have like quarks, gluons, all these things I don't understand, but they have isotope layers, they can be opposites, invariants, that do the same thing. The same ontology, have the same ontology, rho, types, but there are different models of ontology, and they're for different ecosystems, like the systems that you model. They're different because they are just like biological sustainable for different ecosystem, but they have the universe like alkaline access principle. Basically, they have some kind of encoding that's sustainable for them, because they are in the world of a new physics, a different kind of physics. That persistence, they can work on different kind of rules of the universe, but attraction law can be different, poor, but the quasi states, quantum superposition, isotope representation, exploring kind of properties that do the same thing over quantum principles. Formally, of course, but what I'm saying to you is like the electromagnetic waves to energy are actually, for example, I can have a wireless charger, I can send a wireless signal coherently, and that will be the same thing as electrical current. That's what I'm saying. Because I don't have to if I get a wire right now, wire. If I get a wire, this is a wire thing. And this is a charger. But my phone, I don't charge my phone now. So this wire here doesn't really work. So this wire here is a charger, like a USB Type C charger. If I have this room broken here, so if I plug this in here, I should be able to charge it here and get it out there. Current, this is also electrical current going through this wire. But it's not broken, so I can't use it now. I'll charge my phone, but it's like it goes through. You plug in this towards the socket, it goes click. You put it here in components, and then it goes in. So this wire, it has the electrical charge flowing through it. Negative, it becomes positive. Basically, it goes to electrode. And the electrode gets excited and get positive charge, and then they lose the charge when they become negative, and they flow back the other way, because there's no way to go, unless down to get more energy down the coil, and they can go back, because it's a cycle of electrical current. But this one, so the electrode, basically, I can send the same representation, isotope as a signal, the waveform, as a waveform. There's a digital current, as I'm going to go through the digital system on analog system, the digital wave that's isomorphic to this will really just charge the same thing, but that current is an isotope, because the isotope is the same thing as the current, but the current doesn't, it's wireless, and this was not wireless, it doesn't break down easily. So what I'm saying to you, stop looking at me, fucking guy! Stop looking at me! What I'm saying to you, guy, because someone's there just looking at me in that fucking car. I see your boyfriend. So what I'm saying to you is the electrical current is the same isotope as the electrical wave, but it goes bidirectional, so it can be there can be many isotopes depending on what you're using. If you're using electromagnetic spectrum, if you're using current, if you're using but it's about biological sustainability. It doesn't really matter the Bluetooth wave format, as long as that codec, this is defined as a codec information is the same thing. You're representing through that medium. The medium is just the spectrum, and the medium is just the wire, the current going through the coil of the wire. But they go work together as electromagnetic system via electric, which is like electric, and magnetic, which is like the north magnetic, the magnetic poles of the world, that they create the field, the current field around the Earth or the globe. Or the Earth, that's like stuff solar radiation coming in and out of the world. Going through, because that's you have to get the excess of magnetic field to attract debris, but it doesn't really cost much. So that's isotopes for you. For me, this is like very important because if you can show there's an isotope across a set of three bipartite type, then I've solved my problem, which is like signing biological informatics based on a pair. Basically, one pair would be like using an electric charger, and then another pair would be like a magnetic wave. That's like a electromagnetic wave, in the field, in the radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-ray. Cameras can do the same thing for the waves here, and then one more waves would be like the people getting. So this can upload, download, and one more consume, observe, consume, peer to peer to peer for real world heuristic measure. For the mind ontology, try to model the consciousness in this model as a topology thing that's sparse matrix, that can have invariance. Basically, this triad has invariance, so I can represent the magnetic spectrum more way in one system. You can have the opposite invariant, quasi opposite, isotopically in a quantum system. Do it. So basically, so I control all the system and show that the system does what it does without breaking down the whole ecosystem. That there's built on. I can have it like a like cancer or radiation or something I don't like. Even a measure because I'm doing like a sustainable housing infrastructure. It reminds me on the mind and the brain. Another thing, basically. So basically, I'm gonna give you my basketball analogy. So basically, in my mind, there's no perception. So basically, in some people's mind, there's no perception of the task. There's no perception of the task. No ontological look ahead thing, or pre-intention, and just doing of the task. That's one person. I think my ran out. Did it run out? Let me check. Oh, I got okay. Basically, the ontology, basically the essentially there's no some people basically it's just someone check out kick a football. They don't see a football in their head. They just kick the ball. They don't see or check a basketball. They don't see the basketball they're checking in their head or their mind. They just check the basketball. That's the difference. For me, basically, some people like do the task. They tell you this sport they're doing. They don't have a pre. I'm so sure what they want to do. Or some kind of a curvature angle they want to take. Some kind of pre-calculation they want to do, which I call look ahead calculation. The AI must do that, for me, but they just do the task. It's just, do I know, basically, do I know, do I, what do I know ahead of time what I want to do before I do it? So it's like a meta system, a metacognition system. Do I know what I want to do, how I want to do it before I do it? Do I have enough information to do that thing effectively, basically? Which is called the epistemological cost function, which is like I know enough to do this thing, to action it. But that's someone else. Basically, my one is like I have two. Basically, I think basically my one is a visual monologue. So and in a monologue, video and audio free monologue. So basically, I see pictures. If you want to play basketball, I can calculate a lot of patterns and predict things ahead of time. If I'm in a flow state, and I know whatever is going on, I can get that. I can score like three hoops, 3 pointers. Based on the organization. Just by behind the net. 3 pointers. Just in the midway line. Those are 3 pointers. You got like 3 pointers and get 3 points into my team. Because that's my ontology. That's what I know. I really know what I'm gonna do. I really predicted this happening already. I already calculated. It's not like I'm being serious. I guess my vision model. I can see it ahead of time. I did activate. It's kind of powerful actually. That means I'm in the flow state. I'm working coherently. I know how this system works. What is basketball? Like any dribbling, doesn't really matter. It's a sport I do. You got the audio monologue. So basically, the audio monologue is like for me. I think A, B, C. If he does A, I do C. Then I'm gonna get the ball at D, which is the ABC. If he goes to A, then I go to B. If player A comes to player one comes to me at B, I go to B 3, which is like the third question. And then when he leaves me at the center, I go to get to C, which is 3 pointer. C2, which is 3 pointer, and then shoot. But that's all words in my head. And then I find the book because you're going to cancel. I really calculate that thing. And I think I just shoot the ball in the hoop and I get the 3-pointer and I win the game or like score a point or like match continues, it's like, it's epistemically understanding the scenario in real time because I have meta information, I have information already about what can happen, because I don't need to wait to act on my meta condition, my process, my ability to act, I just already have the insight of that state, surreal, in a surreal way, we can interpret phenomenologically, lensing the principle as a protocol for the task we want to do, and that task is done. Yes, just has to do it, agreement. And then basically, this thing I'm saying to you is with how I work, the visual and the auditory. They can be both at the same time. I don't really want to heterogeneous and homogeneous. It doesn't matter. But that's inner monologue. And then I got the open sense one. So basically, I think my thing is down. Okay, it's almost done. Basically, the open sense matrix. 5 senses: sight, smell, scent, touch, and sight, smell, scent, touch, and sight, scent, touch, feel, touch, sight, smell, eyes, nose, mouth, or taste. Basically, I have to start a new one now because my atelier is finished. Unless I wait a bit. Okay, let me just check what I want to say here. Basically, yes. Yes, got formats. Sight, smell, taste, touch, taste, touch, 1, 2, sight, basically, my 5 senses. All the 5 senses around me, based on IK, my observation of the IK principles and the K principle, my basic action on the K, which like the first kind of matters how it affects me, or like me, if I'm even the one doing the task, and how it affects the other person, K, because I don't really care about the opponent per se. Which is called the open sense matrix. If I'm playing basketball, how I do a combo in the game. Basically, combo is because you have to see the combo, then action it, or have to touch something, touch your input, or get some kind of confirmation from the input, and then continue to do the combo, and do a move. It's like that's the observer. Basically, this is just like an observer consumer model, observer user model, but it's for the site, so I can see something, and I can act on that something I see. I can smell something and then taste that something. It can be like a bypass a DAG for sensory preservation, for AI cooking. But the open sense sensory matrix is about this on the seamless LookAhead ontology for directness and biological evolution in real time. Via quasi state resolution. If there is a quasi quantum equivalent for quantum computers, such as harmonic gates or like CNOS gates, is something that I can mirror to compute ahead of time because I look before I see, something I can use to tailor this to myself for that ontological work I want to do. Via phenomenological lensing as a key protocol based on the coherence infrastructure. Okay, guys, this video, I want you guys to use this video and try to understand me in person. Me only, if you want to understand, just understand me and see how we can understand other people if you want to go there. But I want you guys to try to be honest to me and see what you guys do. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I'm gonna try to show you this video now. Thank you very much.